us luck.
My name is Barbara Bauer Chen, and I'm a retired military person, and then we started this candy store a couple years ago. I grew up in Minnesota and then served in the military, my husband and I both. After 3 decades being away from the Midwest, kind of just thought, well, where do we go now? The Midwest is just, for me, home. Didn't want the cities area of Minnesota, and so just wanted to get smaller town life, just less traffic, less trouble. So we chose Menominee. The whole reason the store came about was because of COVID, because we didn't figure anybody else would lease the space. We just figured we might as well make use of it somehow. Had to buy a bunch of candy, go get a LLC and a tax ID and stuff like that, but I figured it would be a fun hobby. Just getting things set up, we cut a hole in the wall between 2 offices to make a bigger space. Checked with the county health, all that stuff as far as starting the business out. I knew we wanted the nostalgic piece, and so I picked candies that I remembered or that I knew were old or old-fashioned, I guess I would say. And then also the international kind of started right away too, and partially kind of for a selfish reason, because it's like, ooh, I can buy all this good stuff now that I have a tax ID. So bought Japanese things right away and British and a few other countries right off the very beginning. And just the customer feedback was phenomenal. So with the nostalgic and the international both. And so then we just said, well, we just need to keep going on this. And so as far as learning about new products and finding new products, a lot of times we get customers suggest or look for a particular thing. And so if 2 or 3 customers ask for the same thing, often I'll go get it. Or if it's a chocolate, then I typically go get it even if one person asks, just because chocolate always sells better than everything else. When we first opened, I tried to group things a little bit, but it was mostly just like, oh, well, what do we do with this? Oh, let's just put it here, and just kind of has to start somewhere. The international was grouped together at first, and then the more we filled the store, that back room of the original 2 rooms was the international room, and then the front room was basically the US, even though it's not all necessarily made in the US. And so that was kind of the initial setup. We had fudge, we had different things up in the front, and the back one was the international. That's how successful the international was right away. It was almost half the store. And now we have like a caramel area and a nut area and a bubblegum area and jelly beans and tins with the candies in it and stuff like that. When a customer comes in and asks if I have something, I don't like to say no. So that was, part of the reason getting all the variety and getting certain things in, because it's just like, I like to say yes. I like to say, yes, I have that. If I can get it, if it's available, then I try to get it, like the old nostalgic things. It's not all still made anymore, but if it's still made, I like to say I probably have it. Anytime we can expand, it's exciting, and we have more opportunity to be organized, maybe a different way of organizing things, more space for people to walk around and see different things. And so it's always fun, and people come in, oh, I love you expanded again, that's great, and so once again that's that feedback loop and having room for people to take their time. We've had a lot of people ask us about, do we make candy? We make a lot of ice cream stuff, and so that we can be creative about. We can make customized things, either with candy or by with obviously the decorations, things like that. Another thing that I've done in that regard is I've gotten a lot of Wisconsin made items, and so there's like a whole section for local Wisconsin products. So it's 2 full bookshelves, basically, well, candy shelves, but they were originally bookshelves, I think, of Wisconsin made goods. And so that has made it where people are less saying, well, what do you have here that's from Wisconsin? Well, here you go, here's a whole section from Wisconsin. So we even have sugar-free area too. So, try to have something for everyone. And every once in a while I have somebody that comes in and says, well, I don't even like sweets, and this, whatever, I don't, whatever. And it's like, well, what about chips? What about snacks? We've got all kinds of different stuff, especially with the international. And so try to have something for everybody. So as far as staff members, we have mostly students. So we have high school students and Stout students. And then we have a few adults, so we have 2 assistant managers.
And the invoice too, you got that? Awesome.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
As a small business, yes, it is challenging because it is a transient, I guess you could say, kind of job where they're not here for a long time. So as we get new folks in, then we're training, and it's kind of always an evolution of they're here for a little while and then they move on to something else, or they move away if they're Stout students or whatever the case is. I didn't anticipate having an ice cream shop, but that was a customer suggestion. People just kept saying, you should have an ice cream shop. And it's like, the first time it was like, but I just got all this candy. And then it was like, the more people that asked, it's kind of like, well, okay, if that's what customers want, then that's what we'll do. We do have it year-round. In the wintertime, we've chosen this year to do winter hours, so we're open full. The full shop is open on Friday, Saturday, Sundays, and then during the week, we typically have somebody here that can scoop if somebody, needs something in particular, but we're not opening it full staff just because the demand is so much lower in the wintertime. There's a lot of good flavors, but definitely when you have the combination of chocolate and ice cream, that's kind of always a winner, but I like coffee ice cream and coffee and chocolate, and yeah, those are all good too. I didn't expect how much the business would take off, so I mean, that was a happy surprise, but we just, we always try to look at things as happy surprises or, find the bright side to everything, so I was happily surprised we didn't have a lot of shipping disasters. We did have one box that some drinks exploded, and I think it was, they froze, and so then they just exploded because it was winter, and that caused a lot of damage, but that happened once. We've had other things break, but it's been very small scale, and as far as things getting crushed or damaged, it's very minor, so I've been very happy about that.
No, thank you.
All right, have an awesome day. Watching the adults act like kids or get excited about candy is one of my favorite things in the world, and so that right there, the feedback and the excitement, just definitely makes it all worthwhile. Very fun environment and very fun place to work. For now, we kind of take things as it goes. Nothing's tapered off, gotten slower, but we're kind of at a good place where I think we can keep up with business. With the 2 registers, we can handle busier times pretty easily, especially in the wintertime since it's not as busy with ice cream. And so having that second register helps, when we develop a line in the front, we can take, customers to the other register, etc. For now, we're just going to keep going as we are, and then who knows? So we'll just have to see what happens in the days ahead, and whether or not we expand again, I'm not sure.
And all the stud students get a free scholarship for working here, right?
I wish I could provide that, but yeah, as a small business, we just man the schedule the best we can, and yeah,